Nevada team spoken for. This is great. And so what we can do is, I don't know if we're exactly nationwide, but we are bad.
we are nationwide. So we are nationwide right now because we are live streaming on Facebook and we're also on Zoom. So cool. So I think, you know what, with that, I think we can actually get this party started. So I'm going to officially welcome everybody to our Kilt&Cork virtual tasting room series. Tonight we have the one and only Mike and Melissa Owen. Oh, and there's KZ from Crystal Basin Cellars in Camino. And Mike is going to take us through 3 amazing wines, aren't you, Mike?
Well, I'm actually going to, I rarely color between the lines. So you can expect tonight to be not too different. One of the things when I'm tasting wine, and I'll just kind of give you some secrets here. I always start with bubbly, a little bit of bubbly. And the reason that I do that is to cleanse your palate.
Okay.
And so you could have had a hot sauce a few minutes ago, or you could have had something really garlicky, or you could have brushed your teeth, or you could have gargled, or you could have had one of those little spray things that you spray in your mouth. I mean, these days you spray that stuff everywhere, but
I had a chili dog.
But what happens is the bubbly clears out your palate and allows you then to comprehend the wines better. And so I always start out when we're doing blending or we're trying to do any analysis or sensory analysis on our wines, we'll start with bubbly. So here, watch.
All right. You're teasing us because you didn't send bubbly in the tasting kits.
No, I'm upselling right now. That's what we call it.
I know you are. Yeah. Hey, so listen, while you were drinking your bubbly and cleansing your palate, I just wanted to tell everybody that's watching us here on Zoom, and we've got a bunch of people out there, that there's not really any rules here other than enjoy yourself and have fun, ask questions, interact. Mike is here to answer every question you have about anything, right, Mike? Anything in the world.
Yeah. And I can even rhyme if you're not careful.
He might bust into some rhyme here if you guys have that. But if you're watching on Facebook as well, I can see your questions there. So wherever you are, if you have questions for Mike Owen, please feel free to send them in. Or if you have questions for me or anybody else for that matter. If you're on the Zoom meeting, you have a luxury of raising your hand. And if you raise your hand, we then can put you on audio. But we're going to do that sparingly. So we're going to wait till after we've done some tasting and you have questions about really anything, and then you can get online, raise your hand, and then we'll put you on audio. And if you have a camera, you might actually be on video too, so be careful what you're wearing. Other last thing before we get started with Mike and talking about the wines, if you are here on the Zoom webinar, down below your chat message box there, if you change your status from all panelists, it's right there next to 2, it says all panelists. Change that to all panelists and attendees. And then that way, everybody can see what your questions are or what your comments are. And you can say hi to everyone that's out there. So we're kind of like a big family hanging out together. And Mike is like the patriarch who's going to take us through these.
So this is really cool. We're exploring new worlds, and I'm glad to be kind of working with Russ on this. He's the true pioneer, and he's making wind. I mean, not like that, but he's still
not breaking wind
out there. And we're kind of going in his right behind him and trying to push him to see what we can do with this medium. Lots of hellos going on around out there. It's kind of fun to play this for the very first time.
Yeah.
So look, one of the things that we got to get into, I think a lot of people know our history, so I'm not going to belabor that except maybe with some stories. Been around. We just celebrated our 20-year anniversary on the 5th of last month. And then look how different the world is in 1 month. Wow, that was amazing how everything just turned around. Our last event here, folks, and Russ, was Oyster Fest. That was on the 14th of March, and that seems like an eon ago. And in the current time frame of how fast things change.
It does.
We're glad to be here. We're going to start the next 20 years with this really cool thing that we closed Russ in, and he's not going to have any calories except liquid for a while now that he's in the vault.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm seclusion in my wine cellar.
So the one of the things you got to do when you're looking at a tasting like this is get the order. The order of wines, and KZ asked me about that. So I'm going to let her talk a little bit about what the considerations were that went into that, and then where we ended up. So you guys, here's a very familiar face.
All right, so we're going to be tasting the 2016 Sangiovese, the 2016 Merlot, and the 2016 Syrah. And we've got those lined up. And we're going to do Sangiovese first. A little bit lighter body, a little more acidic. So we're going to do this one first so it doesn't kill off all the other ones.
Right. So here, let's make it hurt. If you don't have any of this, pretend is all I can tell you. Those of you who do, the coolest thing about this particular set of wines, to everybody's health, Sangiovese. So that looks like the Syrah. Russ, that looks like Syrah. It's blue. No?
No, Sangio. There we go.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Purple. What a trip. All right.
Yeah.
You got to fool me. So all of these wines won gold medals last year. The Sangiovese won a medal at the Orange County Fair. Is that right? Where am I at here? No, California State Fair. So this one won a gold last year at California State Fair. And this is primarily from the Sauber Vineyard. And Sauber Vineyard is up the north fork of the Consumnes River up in Happy Valley. And a lot of you folks have heard us talk about that vineyard. We've been using it since the 2005 and 6 timeframe. And that has turned into a whole bunch of very great Sangioveses. We'll never give that fruit up. What do people taste? Give me some adjectives, team.
That's you people out there that are tasting along with us on Zoom and Facebook. If you happen to have this wine, feel free to jump in, tell us what you're tasting, what you're smelling. Say hi.
You guys are putting me on these little, pandemic pours. Like, what the hell's with that? This is a pandemic pour, people.
We haven't been allowed to taste lately.
We're so bad at tasting, we've lost our touch. So what you can do around our place is you can come in and stand behind the safety zone. And you can also try, the only thing you can sample right now is Camino's here. Melissa will show off Camino's best Tana hand lotion.
Let's try it.
Oh, look, your demonstration. Right. And so that's our 150 proof plus some aloe, plus a little bit of cinnamon stick booze.
Wow. So you guys make your own hand sanitizer.
Yeah. And it'll eat several layers of skin off at the same time. It's pretty cool.
Wow. So should we have sanitized before we start drinking this wine?
Well, it depends on what you did 5-10 minutes ago, man. I don't want to know.
All right. So listen, we've got some comments out there. Linda says, hi, Mike and Melissa. Heather says she tastes cherry. Randy is very astute. He says he tastes wine, tastes like wine.
Randy's astute.
That's
Angela.
That's the nicest thing you've called Randy lately.
Also, Mama made us.
Angela says she's got chocolate covered strawberries. Now, I'm not sure if she's eating those or if she smells that and tastes that in this wine.
She might be trying to make you jealous.
I think so. Hey, so Marcy asked, are you on Facebook? Lisa's watching. We've got Georgia and Deb watching. Michael and Beverly House watching. Kim Pratt. You know Kim Pratt. She's watching.
Pratt, Georgia.
Yeah. Wanda Gaines, Raymond Medina. Hey, you guys. Kayla, thank you very much for joining us on Facebook. Feel free to ask Mike any questions or heckle him. Or if you happen to have the 2016 Crystal Basin Sangiovese, that's what we're tasting right now.
That's number 1 on the hit list. So what is it about Sangiovese? Where does it come from and why do we like it? And what does it do for us? And why is it important in the foothills? So Sangiovese is the grape that is, we all know is Chianti, coming from Italy. Mm-hmm. And that they don't, in most places in Europe, they put name the wines by place names, not by the name of the grape varietal itself. So the Chianti is a region within Italy, but they grow the Sangiovese grape. In California, we tend to get it a little bit riper. If you had Chiantis, they can be a little thin, a little lower in alcohol, and not at the complexity level of what the foothills are able to offer. Why is that? It's altitude. It's altitude and soil. And once you have a vineyard that is producing really kind of proven fruit, you stick with it. And we've been really lucky to have a great relationship with the Saubers, coming on 15 years. And I've even farmed that place 1 year. And so this one winning a gold medal, it helps us kind of just know that we're headed in the right direction with our winemaking style. And that doesn't always happen, but it's truly good feedback.
That's delicious, Mike. So I like to ask people out there that are watching, what did you pair this with tonight? If you've already opened this up, or what would you pair this with? I think the easy thing to say is pasta. Let's say other than pasta. That's too easy, right, Mike? I mean, heck, anybody can pair Sangiovese with pasta.
I would say, how about a champagne? Heather, pair champagne with everything. That doesn't count.
That doesn't count.
That doesn't.
Well, I
would say,
they're
have
both
you ever
foods,
had
right?
wild boar in a pressure cooker?
No.
So wild boar is a pretty regular thing that the folks in Chianti region eat. They go out and hunt that stuff, and the that kind of coarsity and that gaminess of that goes really well with their Sangiovese because it's so acidic. And like KZ said when we started talking about this being the first wine in our lineup, the acidity in this, and then also some wines like Barbera have that snappiness where you can take a coarser meat, a one that has more fat content,
Sure.
and one that that is going to push back against wines. You can put a more acidic wine in there, and I prefer that to a tannic wine, to be honest, for meals.
Right. Well, Lisa Scott on Facebook said that this would pair well with a salmon. She says Sangio loves salmon. And Angela paired it with zucchini parmesan. Those are both sound delicious, except for salmon. I'm not a salmon fan.
Really? All right. We think the best salmon pairing is Grenache, and we're not going to taste Grenache tonight, but I can change people's mind usually with by grilling salmon and serving them Grenache, and they have two brand new things in their lives.
Wow. Well, maybe one day I'll taste your salmon. I don't know. I'm one of those people, we all have our things that we like and we don't like. And I'll drink wine with pretty much anything except salmon.
Yeah. You know what I don't like? I don't like quarantine. Sorry.
Oh. Who does? Who does? I think if you like it, you're probably not watching us right now.
Yeah.
Oh, Colleen said rigatoni with sausage and fennel.
Woo, fennel. That'd be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Mike,
cool way that I like to cook fennel is to cut the bud of the fennel thin, and you put that in a dish with butter and put in the oven with what the French call lardons, which sounds like just like it is bacon cutting. Chopped up
nice
bacon, lardon.
Right.
And that turns into this kind of really awesome, slightly licoricey vegetable that we rarely have in California. Certainly, it doesn't get served in restaurants very often. Sometimes it's part of a salad.
So you mentioned that in Italy, Chianti is the primary grape that's in, Sangiovese is the primary grape in Chianti. What's most people's experience with Chianti here in the United States?
This is a fun question to answer. Most people have our kind of age group saw their parents drink like 3 of those bottles with the straw around the bottom and just get absolutely bombed, in the 70s, right? That's most of our common experience with Chianti. So let me tell you something important here. One of those bottles is called the Fiaschi. Okay, it's the bottle that it's kind of bulbous on the bottom and it has straw around the bottom. It's very iconic for the Chianti region. The plural of Fiaschi is fiasco. Now think about that, because you've all been a part of a fiasco once or twice. Sometimes it came with those.
I think that was the beginning of the show.
Straw thing around the bottom, or at least in your parents' mind, right? Maybe that's why you're here. Who knows?
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I think
owe our base existence to one of those parties.
I think my mom and dad, and I'm dating myself because I think we were watching I Love Lucy at the time, but they used that bottle to put a candle in and have it drip all over it. So I think those bottles make great candelabras.
I want to see one right behind you on the left on the 3rd barrel next time.
I know. I will. I have to get my people to do that. They didn't dress the barrels for me this time. So.
Well, no, this is the French cellar. You can get the Italian cellar next time where it has the, but you got to, we're trying to dress it up, right? For instance, we have the football, right? We're dressed it up.
That's nice.
This is not really a football. It's disguised as a flask. And
wow.
Now it's empty, which is probably good.
Now that comes in handy
at some point.
That's very handy.
But this is part of all the crazy goodies that KZ buys around here. And the KZ, tell them how do you get gifts right now? KZ should tell you how you get gifts.
If you see something on our walls you like, call us and see if we have it.
We'll
We'll sell it to you.
We'll ship it
Michael
to you with
deliver
wine.
it to you.
Yeah, we'll ship it to you with wine.
Ship it to you.
And
Hey,
so
all right, Mike.
Melissa will do
So we got some more
ritual
questions.
You don't.
We got some more questions for you, Mike.
Okay, question.
Yeah, we got some questions. We do have some people just saying that they some of the wines that they remember as kids as Lancers. That's a good one. Remember that one? They remember the Basket Chianti, and they're having fava beans with this. But Sierra Wine Guy, everyone knows Sierra Wine Guy out there if you're in the industry. He's asking you a question here on Facebook. Do you blend it out with anything to soften it? Your Sangio?
No, I would say almost all of our varietal wines are 100%.
Okay.
When we're blending it out, and we have a wine called Campione, Champion, and I'm told it's actually the pronunciation is Campione, and so that wine is Sangiovese 66%. So we couldn't call that a varietal Sangiovese, and 1/6 each of Merlot and Cab, and that's a Super Tuscan. So Super Tuscans are in the same family of wines as Sangiovese, as Chianti is, but that's when, to answer his question about blending out, we have we blend up in price on that because we think the complexity it makes it a more valuable wine.
Okay, very cool. Angela was saying there's a distinct aromatic on this that she can't put her finger on. So she's asking everybody, what is it that you smell in the Sangio? And Mike, we got a hand up. It looks like Debbie wants to ask a question over here.
Go for it.
All right, Debbie McCarthy. Debbie, I'm going to give you a 2-second warning here. We're going to put you on to talk. Can you hear me?
Hold on. Yeah, I didn't know.
I hear you.
I didn't know I had a question.
You have your hand up.
That
means you have a question.
I didn't know I had my hand up, but
Okay, so you've been drinking too much. I can tell you that right now.
I have not actually. No, I actually do have a question.
Okay.
It's really not. It's a thank you first.
Okay.
Well, not just thank you, but I want to thank Mike and Melissa and your whole team, because you guys are being very creative and finding ways to get us all our wine. And you were always consistently giving back to the community, both in your town and in Reno as well. So I want to thank you for continue to give back even when the times are tough. So thank you. And when you're not making and playing in the winery, what do you do for fun?
Good question. Thanks, Debbie. And if you don't know, that's About Town Deb from Reno. You can follow her on Facebook and Instagram. About Town Deb. What do you do for fun, Mike?
So, yo, I'm glad you asked. Two Plies here, thinking all about it. Here's what you got to figure out to don't doubt it. You got to have some wine and have a good time, because your life on the earth is short. Be a good sport.
Cheers to Two Ply. Everyone's been asking. I've been kind of silently watching everyone say, "Where's Two Ply? Where's Two Ply?" Okay, you guys, there's your Two Ply right there. Two Ply came out to see you tonight.
I only do one take on that stuff too. I don't rehearse that at all. It's no fun.
So you're kind of like Whose Line Is It Anyway? That show that used to be on, and they just say, "Okay, here's a topic," and come up with.
There's some improv, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I'm good at making stuff up. Ask Randy and Colleen. What's the plan? I don't know. We make stuff up. It's all where it seems to work.
Just figure it out.
Yeah. Speaking of making stuff up, have some Merlot.
Oh, is it time for?
Deny you people. I'm sure that that first bottle you'll come back to it, but yo ho, get some Merlot.
I still have Sanjo in my glass. Man, you're going through this. I guess I have to drink it. I don't have a dump bucket.
Boy. Don't fall on the barrel though and hurt yourself.
I won't.
No.
I have
the cool thing is
wolf to help me out
around geographically too. Where are these grapes from? They're from the Bordeaux region. And the Bordeaux region is the Atlantic seacoast of France. And they get a lot of Atlantic weather. So it's kind of wet there. And we started, the primary component of this Merlot is from the Gold Hill Vineyard.
Okay.
And the folks from Reno will recognize that area because they come down Highway 80 and they come across 49 quite a bit. And this this vineyard's on the 49 corridor over there. Gold Hill Vineyard was planted originally by one of my high school teachers, Mr. Hempt. And that guy was amazing. He had escaped from Hungary before the Nazis showed up. And so he was an older guy even when I was in high school, but he planted this vineyard originally that we now know as Gold Hill Vineyard. He planted Cabernet Sauvignon out there, and a gentleman named Hank Batches bought it after that. And that's the family, their family still has that vineyard. And Hank gave us a few different things. I think he gave me an enlarged fatty liver. I think he gave us a start in the wine business. He gave us something to shoot for. And here's the other thing he gave us.
Me.
Yeah.
I used to work for Hank.
No kidding.
Hank was a super giving guy, right? And
He
so
gave you a winemaker too.
yeah, he gave us a winemaker for a while when we had Dan as our winemaker. And so there's a lot of homage that we owe to Hank Batches. And he built that place out to about 50 acres planted. And we went out there in 2000 and started making our wines under the house, or after being under the house.
Right.
And we were only able to be open 7 days a year, Russ and gang.
Wow.
So 7 days a year isn't enough to sell the kind of wines that we want to sell. And so it was kind of the equivalent of go get a room. And then we went to move to Camino in 2006. And so this is a really, hats off to Hank here. I think KZ and I are.
Hey, yeah, cheers to Hank. And if you don't know, Hank Batches and his daughter Brianna is out there running it now. It's Gold Hill Vineyards. They're off of Cold Springs Road, right?
It's true.
Down.
Yep.
Going down towards
David Gerard, if you're out.
Yep, right next to David Gerard. Very
And
cool. So
this wine killed it because it won 2 really interesting awards. It won a gold in Orange County, which is the 3rd or 4th biggest wine competition in the United States. And full disclosure, I'm a judge there, but I didn't judge Merlot. Full disclosure. It also won a best of class at the California State Fair. Now, interestingly, they do best of class awards like this. They take all the grapes in the Sierra Foothill region, which is called Region 10. Region 10 is everything from all the way up Lincoln Way, above that to in the foothills, all the way up to Yankee Jim's. There's some vineyards way up there, all the way down to the other side of Mariposa. So anything really that I view as anything that's grown at altitude on the east side of the valley is this District 10. This is, I think, a really awesome conversation about Merlot. And it's easier for me to tell you what I don't like about Merlot than what I do like. So I'm going to flip myself around tonight.
okay, so you're not going to be
winemakers.
This isn't sideways. You're not going to like.
No, it's too late for that. There's so this one with the nose that I'm going to suggest, and it's all suggestive, but the nose that I'm going to suggest to everybody is, remember when you opened the Ovaltine or the Nestle's Quick Tin, and you have that really finely atomized cocoa.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very unique smell, really super finely ground cocoa. That's what really good Merlot should smell like. And this has some aspects of that. The other place that you can really find, if you really like to develop an understanding of that flavor, those are the Merlots from the right bank of the Gironde River, right bank Bordeaux. And that's where all the very high-end best Merlots on the planet come from. Personally, this can stand up to those, and I don't mean from time and age and all that stuff, but I'll put this up against wines from that region on a regular basis on the strength of the fruit in El Dorado County. Because as winemakers, all we do is take the best fruit you could ever have and not screw it up. And
So, Mike,
there's so many things you can get wrong. That it's bringing stuff into this with, and getting it to here is such a cool success. I'm happy to do it.
So we have some questions regarding that. There's a question, Sierra Wine Guy again, is do you ever have challenges with Bordeaux grapes at the elevation that you're at?
So I think that Camino is more challenged for that than Gold Hill area. Gold Hill is about 14 to 1600 feet. And because it's very much air washed, it's right in those banks of the American River. And so you get a big cold air channel in and out of that. And the anyone who's been in the barrel room with me any number of times and dared to go back, we'll talk about.
It's right here, by the
I
way.
would like to talk about the up and down cycle of Indian summer. And I think right on the edge of the river there, and it's up the canyon a ways, but the air changes temperature so much day to night that ripening aspect doesn't really happen in France. It doesn't happen in Chianti. It doesn't happen in the center of France, which is the next wine we're going to taste. That Indian summer, what we call Indian summer, is one of the things that makes our grapes such a treasure.
Very cool. And then we had a question about where can you get these wines in Reno? That's off of Facebook as well.
I'd love to tell you that a bunch of places, but right now I don't have anybody who's carrying our wines up there. We're in Costco.
Oh, that's a shame.
Well, I know. Well, the thing is, I think that it's hard for Reno retailers to outdo the wine club. And so even when I've been over to talk to folks in the Washoe Valley and folks in Carson City, we have some rabid fans over there. And thank you for being on tonight. I know you're there. I saw some smiling, keystrokes and thank you. But if they know that they have to buy something and charge $35-40 for it with their markup and everything, they know that the wine club members are going to come in and go, well, I can get that for $20. Why would I pay you more? And so
Right.
it's that aspect, and plus the demand for wines from Napa, wines that are much more widely distributed, pushes small guys out of the market. So for
Right.
the people asking where can they get it, I would say that it comes in a really nice brown truck about once a day.
Very nice. That's a great answer.
Well, and if you
Yeah,
buy
we've got
6
some,
bottles, it comes for $1, people.
We've got some people out there saying, Colleen says,
this is your shipping cost. Are you listening to me? Buy 6 bottles. You can do it.
you can do it. Colleen says that she tastes black cherry and cocoa for sure. Angela says dark fruit, nice depth, little spice on the finish. Colleen agrees with her. And then, of course, you have Dawn Golden, who's watching from Washoe Valley. So cheers to our Nevada friends out there. Very cool. And Michael House on Facebook said the 2018 Merlot in the barrel has a lot of cocoa on it.
Yeah, and Mike's in the barrel room, and he's kind of the advanced guard.
Mhm.
When he's the enthusiastic about things back there, those wines tend to become customer favorites. He's got a good nose that way. It's why we brought him back after he went astray for so many years.
He went astray. He was the prodigal son. Is that kind of like the?
It's okay.
Okay. We have another question. In fact, Michael is asking you when has the Futures release party been rescheduled?
So I got pinned down on this the other day, so I actually had to come up with a big old line of BS. Are you ready? So you can't have the Futures release party technically unless you bottle wine, right? It's because it ain't quite there. So we're working with all of our vendors to figure out when we're actually going to bottle, and it's looking like September if I had to put my thumb up in the air.
Gotcha.
You have to do something before harvest. We're not physically going to have enough room for everything. So it becomes an interesting chess game. What we're going to do, and we're going to stick with this, and we're going to stick with this date until we are told loudly not to. The date we had set up for the Futures release party is the 6th and 7th of June. And so we're renaming that party. We are not canceling that party. We are renaming that party, and it's called the Coming Out Party, the Great Coming Out. And so that could be you could come out any way you want, really. Just I don't really care. I went to California public schools. I really don't care. Whatever you want.
It's funny when I thought you were going to say there has to be a future in order to have a Futures party. So, but you didn't go there.
Yeah. Well, next year when we go back into isolation for 10 months or whatever, I don't know. But the good news is they let us. I'm very thankful, and this is one of the few times you folks will ever hear me say this. I am thankful for government regulations. Now, I know you're sitting down, Russ, but
I am
surprised to hear that.
I didn't fall down at all.
So here's the interesting thing. The government has treated wineries as a food producer in terms of rules we have to follow and reporting and a lot of stuff like that. And when it came down to being essential services, they treated us the same way. And so, I was very glad to see that, even, and that we're part of the beverage producing food chain. And that makes us essential services. And thank the Lord gives us a little freedom to do deliveries. And, and think about deliveries. Guys, look, 3 weeks ago, nobody knew it was legal. I talked to, some of the big cheeses in the industry, the guy who, writes a bunch of insurance. Said, Nick, did anybody think about or do any delivery before 3 weeks ago? He goes, nope. So there's your paradigm shift. Right?
Wow.
Boom. How fast did the business model change? It's fascinating for me from a business perspective, how fast all of the business models are changing. It's true. And a lot of
it's
people
like the Wild West.
Seeing the emails I'm sending out about small business and stimulus and all that. And I'm tracking that really closely because I think that's, it'll eventually help choose some winners and losers in the next 5 or 10 years. It's important.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. There's some comments coming in right now, which we'll get to in a second, but just from a interesting perspective that of course is all over. Wine is essential. Schools are closed.
Don't go to church either.
And so that's kind of funny. I think, the homeschooling has been relegated to parents. And so,
but Russ, you're not thinking
about
it. You're not thinking about it from a mom's perspective. If you tell her she's got to homeschool and you lock her in the house with the kids and you tell her she can't have wine, how do you think that's going to work?
Oh, I know. It's essential. It's an essential product. That's for sure.
I think mommies feel pretty strongly about that as an essential item. Yeah.
So this is a virtual tasting with Mike Owen from Crystal Basin Cellars. And again, my name is Russ Reyes from Kilt&Cork. And we are doing this to entertain you and to add to your, tonight's Wednesday, huh? Is it Wednesday? Wednesday night pleasure. So we're all adults here. Debbie Torres has a question. She wants you to describe your most memorable wine experience. I guess I'm just going to leave it right there.
So I guess no one is going anywhere. So there you go. So this was an Italian wine experience when Melissa and I lived in France, and there's an area called Barbaresco, which is north of there towards the Swiss or the Italian and the Swiss Alps. And they make their wines out of the Nebbiolo grape. The rules of that are they have to be in the barrel 3 years, and then they can all be bottled and released at the same time. So there might be 28 Barbaresco producers, and they're all on the same time schedule in terms of bottling and release. And so what they do is they have a great big event. So think about all the main restaurants in our area all lined up to do the same theme and have the same 26 or 30 wines poured and the dinner of the house. And so these were impossible tickets to get. There were 300 or 400 people that can get to this party every year. And when Melissa and I lived over there, it was 1996, and Melissa was actually pregnant with Sophia, so she was our DD, and it was and Uncle Bob was with us, even better. But I was going to say she passed the tolerance test that particular night for depravity and drunken behavior, because we are all adults. You started with that.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, there were 8 courses and 26 wines, and the glasses were big enough where you needed 2 hands to swirl them. And so they'd pour this little amount in the bottom that was probably about 5 ounces. Okay? And so you swirl this thing and you go, 2 hands. And so I started making notes. Started with wine A, wine B, wine C, because I'm a scientist kind of a guy, right? I'm a numbers guy. I can do this. So it got down to about wine number 24. And it looked like I had put a giant crayon on my shoulder, and I was just trying to write, like this. And, I finally, my last description for the last wine I could remember writing about was red and wet. And so Uncle Bob, in the meantime, Uncle Bob, he's a fast mover. Okay, so he's sitting next to an Italian winemaker's wife who's kind of attractive and maybe about 20 years younger than Uncle Bob. And Uncle Bob doesn't speak any Italian. Do you think it matters? I don't think it mattered at all. So pretty soon Uncle Bob's got his hand on the knee of this nice lady under the table. And the Italian winemaker sitting across is, having this great conversation with Bob in some sort of broken version of, it's a Hindu, German, Latin kind of thing. I have no idea. And there were 26 wines and everybody's doing this. So at the end of the night, it gets better. Okay. So we had brought over some Amador County wine that we had made, some Barbera. And this is Barbera territory. Nebbiolo is the big grape. Barbera is kind of their Zinfandel kind of, farmer's grape. And so we took this bottle of Barbera and we took it to the proprietor and we said, here, take this over and give it to those dudes in the corner. And these guys both have the same hat and they're about 75 years old. And so he went over there and he gave it to them and they kind of sniffed and swirled and kind of sat there. And he came back about 20 minutes later. He's a German guy. He had an Italian restaurant in Italy and he spoke French and a little bit of English, which is somehow how I could get the message. And he came back and he says, they say it is good, but it is not Barbera. That all happened in the same night. Okay, so that was a wild one.
Wow.
Thank you for asking.
So that's almost like a compliment, but not a compliment. That's
yeah, it is. It's a European kind of a compliment.
It is, yeah. That's pretty funny. Well, we've got a couple of more questions. Heather asked, can you do private tastings under the new quarantine rules?
No, we tried that and we thought that having groups of less than 10 would fit into that whole thing. They really just don't want people to gather. And, there's some aspect of setting good examples and stuff. And, we even struggled with that tonight is, do we want to have 3 people in the same room having some fun with this? And the answer is, yeah, because this is our family, it's our team, and we are sheltering in place together. And so
right.
That's, we think certainly the spirit and intent, if not the physical aspect, is what's going on.
Excellent. So my Merlot is almost gone, Mike.
It's not hard to drink, is it?
Mm-mm.
It's only getting better.
What's next?
I'm going to follow up. You know what? This wine, it won a gold medal. It's just amazing how that stuff works, man.
So
It's a theme
There's
here.
gold medal
I'll let
tonight.
Casey tell you. She's
All
going
right,
to pour.
so this is the Syrah. This is one of my favorites all the time. Gold medal, or this was a gold and a backroom gold at the El Dorado County Fair this year. Backroom gold means.
So you know what a backroom gold is? It's not that.
I dare to ask.
It's not that. It's just.
I dare ask.
Yeah, you don't want to remember that particular one. Anyway, El Dorado County Fair has a bunch of volunteers that help put that on, and they get to drink in the back. It's not all suffering. And so what happens is they open a bunch of different wines, and as they're pouring them for the judges, they get to sample them and they get to tap each other on the shoulder and say, wow, this is really working for me. This is my favorite of the day. And so out of that kind of, and I don't know how they tally it, whether it's official or unofficial, but this particular wine got the back room gold, which was all the volunteers at the El Dorado County Fair who put the wine competition on, picked this as their favorite wine. And that's really kind of cool because that's kind of a populist approach, right? Instead of the wine judge with the big long nose, doing this kind of thing, this is what's making people happy who are doing the work. And that, to me, that's a really cool award to have. That
is very cool. That's very cool.
So Syrah comes with another really long story and a bunch of BS. You ready?
Yeah, you're not going to call it Shiraz?
So now, Shiraz is, so the Australians have some things about that really, it's going to go off on Australia for a minute.
Okay,
they call it Shiraz
because they're not watching.
Yeah, well, they think it's tomorrow. Okay, these people are really screwed up.
They miss this. Yeah.
Every time I call them, they think it's tomorrow. I go, no, it's not tomorrow. It's today. This is not. You people are socialist, and you think it's tomorrow. We're not going to do that around here. So the deal is they want to say Shiraz, and part of what they link that to is they believe it's from the Shiraz city of Shiraz in Persia, which is now Iran. They can't spell it right or pronounce it right or even get the history right, because it's not Shiraz, it's Syrah. And it was brought to the center of France by the Egyptians long before the Romans were even playing. And it's not from Persia. All right, fine. Sounded really good. And, you can say you can bet your eyes, and, you can so crikey and all kinds of stuff like that. Doesn't make the wine different. So way back when, I went to Silicon Valley Bank, which was when I was a Silicon Valley guy, they were our bankers. And so I had these cool relationships with them. And I went to the guy, Rob McMillan, who is still their bow down guru, wine marketing guy. And he's glad to have him on my Muse team. Because he's a friend. I can call him and have lunch and bounce things off him. He's been really super helpful over the years. So I said, Rob, I said, what? So I want to do this winery thing. He goes, well, you don't have time. You're working in Silicon Valley. We're trying to kill you down there. He goes, no, I think I got an escape plan. And he said, so tell me about that. Well, look, I'm going to do El Dorado County, and because I know all the dudes up there, and I know where to get these grapes, and I want to do something where it's making just a little bit of wine. I want to create a kind of a cult winery making Syrah, Cabernet Franc. And Rob McMillan, tasted some wines. They're really polite, kind of went back and talked to me. He goes, kid, I like you, but you got some problems. And he's probably my age. So, kid never goes well when you hear that.
Yeah.
So he goes, look, you got a couple of problems. One is Syrah is not a brand, and Cabernet Franc is not a brand. You probably have access to really good fruit, duh. And you probably have a really great Cabernet Franc coming from Gold Hill. But what did the market want? The market didn't really want esoteric weird stuff. This was 20 years ago like that. They did Syrah. I don't know. Cabernet Franc, what's that? The market was for Chardonnay, Cab, Zin, maybe Merlot, maybe some stretch on some other stuff. But the market was in those big three.
Sure.
And so he says, look, so that's one thing. You don't have really strong brands to be able to work with to build what you're trying to build. And he says, look, Napa's a brand, Sonoma's a brand, Paso Robles is starting to be a brand. But he goes, kid, El Dorado is not a brand. And, as much of a, I love feedback kind of guy that is, I felt like I was in one of those Ren and Stimpy things where their face gets all mopey and
yeah.
But it was true. Syrah has never been dominant because it tastes different depending on where it comes from. French Syrah is very different from Australian Syrah, is very different from our Syrah. It's very different from Paso, right? Syrah that comes from South America or the Cape in Africa tastes different. So you don't have a consistent product there that you can sell to the masses. Chardonnay, think about Chardonnay. They're all the same. That's why people buy it. And Cabernet Franc is just a little too weird as well. And so, they declined to finance us at that point in time, which only cost me about, 40 years of my life interest payments. But look, here's a ribbon here.
And that's for Syrah?
Best Syrah in the state of California a couple of years ago, State Fair.
Nice.
So
very nice.
If you're going to do something weird, do it well.
Those are sage words. Sage words from Mike Owen. You guys can write that down. If you're going to do something weird, do it well. That's outstanding. We've got some people watching. We can do some shout outs too. We got Leanne Davis out there. We got Jim McGill. Hey, Jen, it's been a while. I got to stay in touch. And we've got some questions too, or at least some comments. Angela is having the Syrah with a brownie and ice cream. That sounds really good.
That
sounds outstanding.
I love it because she coined the term pandemic pairing. So is that officially a pandemic pairing?
That's true. She did. We did this the other night with Findleton Winery. We did a virtual tasting, and Angela coined that term. Pandemic pairings, for those of you who don't know what that is, it is kind of a pairing that goes with the wines that you're drinking. That could be everything you have in your cabinet or your cupboard that's left. Chips, barbecue chips, popcorn. I don't know, Mike, what's some other pandemic pairings that you might suggest?
I would say, the basically graham crackers. Anything that pairs with graham crackers is going to be your friend in about 2 weeks. And then, we're trying to figure out what pairs with toilet paper, but what I'm trying to do is get people to have it for breakfast with maple syrup.
Toilet paper for breakfast.
So our pandemic pairing for everything is pretzels.
You have a lot of those.
And I'll tell you what, now I got about 10, 15 of these. So I feel like a hoarder. Right? and so it even feels weird to have that many pretzels because there's no way on earth anyone who could humanly eat all this. But we had 14 years of free pretzels up here, and it was really hard to break that habit. Now I'm telling you.
Tell Melissa we could hear that. You have a lot of fucking pretzels. So
we're all adults. That's you.
We're all adults.
That whole thing.
So just for people that don't know, maybe they just tuning in, pretzels are a thing for you in your tasting room.
We have always had pretzels. It's just a palate cleanser we want, and I happen to be kind of a salt fiend, so it's always helped me hide my habit.
Sure.
That's cool. I saw a question about what pairs with Dinty Moore. And in the true sense of Dinty Moore, I would have to say that mystery juice is the pairing, or even better, Uncle Bob's blend. All right.
You gonna show them?
Well, this is Dozer Red. That's Dozer would certainly go through some Dinty if you gave him the chance. If you knew.
Oh, I bet he would. Yeah. Dinty Moore. Yeah, Linda says she loves the pretzels.
I miss
That's
him.
cool. Yeah, and then Michael just said whiskey. I'm not sure why he said whiskey, but he just said whiskey.
After he gets done cooking and bragging about it on Facebook all day, somebody's got to eat all that stuff, and then it's whiskey for bed.
I guess. Yeah, and so if you don't know, which I'm sure if you're a fan of Mike Owen, you know this, but Mike also is a purveyor of very fine brandy.
It's true. This is another thing where I'm going to applaud government regulations. Are you ready? That's all you get. It's technically an applaud if you clap once. Okay.
Gotcha.
So people have said, well, what do you do with wine that isn't perfect? And I said, well, first off, the answer is we don't make any, which is a complete lie. But if I'm drinking and lying, I got to kind of keep it in balance.
That's a good answer.
I got to do both.
Yeah.
And so, so there's two things that we're doing with it right now. This is a distilled 150 brandy that we soak some lemons and limes in. And guess what? That's sanitizer.
It says
so
detox.
After you leave here, after picking up your wine, this whole place smells like a margarita. Thank you for coming in. And then here's we talked about this. Here's another use for old wine that doesn't go particularly well. And this is Camino's best hand sanitizer. And yes, you can drink it. I don't recommend it. This is brand D, which is thank you for the product plug. Does that show up backwards or forwards?
No, it shows up the right way.
I feel better about that because it looks like I'm backwards or you are. I don't know.
Well, if it is backwards, we're in because I see it the right way. So maybe it's because I've had 3 bottles of wine and who knows what before this, but it looked like it was right to me.
Can we room at Betty Ford? Have you already got reservations? Can you put me on them?
Yeah, my stay there starts on September 1st.
Nice.
So
well, that way you can't help us bottle wine. So Randy's not allowed to go on that trip because Randy's bottling wine with us. So we do take some lots that don't work out exactly right, and we bake them down to brandy, and which is basically separating it the alcohol from the water. Water goes away, alcohol gets concentrated. This gets stored in a small barrel that has a heavy char. And all of the color that you're seeing in this comes out of the barrel itself. The liquid that we get out of the still is clear. Moonshine, Everclear, that's what you get out of the still. This is cut back to 90 proof. And what we found over the winter time is that, this is kind of a warm weather thing. You don't want to like run around and, do this while you're on your marathon. It probably, wouldn't be good. But this is guaranteed to put some egg in your nog.
Nice.
Around Christmas time. And Melissa used it to discover an old friend a couple of years ago. She was seeing some brandy and she found that it went perfect with an old friend she hadn't really spent much time with since she was a little girl, 7 or 8 years. And she was like, this was so cool to connect me back with my old friend eggnog.
Yeah, that's so, awesome. I love eggnog, by the way.
All of a sudden right back in
Hey, Melissa.
Cheers.
Cheers. So,
No,
Mike,
this is deadly at Christmas.
And it won a gold medal.
Yeah.
Oh, was that a theme? Hold on, is that a theme? The whole gold medal thing? Nah,
I think it was. So, Mike, we've got. I want to open it up to people. We've tasted through all three wines. We've got some time left here. If you have questions out there, please feel free to put them in the chat or on Facebook. If you want to raise your hand, if you're on the Zoom meeting, raise your hand and we'll put you on audio so we can hear your voice and you can say hi to Mike. And we do have a question out there. Debbie from Reno. Debbie, About Town Deb asked, how should an open bottle of wine be stored? I don't know what that is, so I'm going to defer that to you.
Yeah, the best storage unit is right here.
Okay.
But if that one doesn't work at that particular moment, your best bet is to use a smaller bottle. And so here's a 500 milliliter bottle. So if you open it and have just a couple glasses, put it in the smaller bottle and put a cork in it. What you're trying to avoid against is oxygen exposure. And if you want to, have two the next day, get a 375. That's half bottle, and keep stepping it down because you can suck air out of there. You can spray stuff in it. You can put it in the fridge. You can do stuff to it. Your best bet is to keep oxygen off of it.
Okay.
There's stuff, if it's crappy wine, make ice cubes. I don't know. If it's really crappy wine, cook with it. Although you want to cook with really bad wine because it makes your food not taste good.
Right. Yeah. Well, you could probably reduce it, make a reduction with it, maybe.
Yeah. The refrigerator always helps, and the least amount of airspace always helps.
Yeah, definitely. So if you got some questions, I'm looking around here, see if we have any hands up. We don't have any hands up, Mike. So I want you to tell me, if you can here, do you have like a special going on tonight or something for people that are watching this and want to buy some wine?
We do. So these wines are just released 1st of April as our new wine club, and these will roll with us until August. And what we wanted to do tonight to kind of kick it off for people who saw all of our marketing, paid attention to what's going on, looking around out there, we'd like to be able to offer them a $200 case of these wines, mixed or otherwise. And so if you want it all Syrah, fine. If you want all Sangiovese, fine. If you want a mix of all three, fine too. Call up or email us, sales@crystalbasin.com, or call us tomorrow, or call us even tonight. We take orders tonight. And we are a shipping deal right now during this kind of very strange time in world history is if you're in the Western states, Washington, Oregon, Nevada, California, Arizona, we're shipping for $1. And so you can get $200 case, $16 a bottle, wines you tasted, you know what they're like, for that $200 plus $1. If you're outside of that area and Kim Pratt back in Georgia, we can ship to you, babe. And I want to tell you, I see you get some LM79, some of my friends' wines. I want you to get some of ours too. Share it with my boys down there.
She's in Georgia.
And that's $20 flat fee if you're not in one of those Western states that I mentioned. And I think our normal charge going back there is $73 or something. So yeah, we're trying. And the other thing that let's answer a couple more questions, but remind me to talk about delivery.
Okay. Definitely. Well, we have some comments. I'm still looking at some people. I think everyone's enjoying this wine right now because they don't have many questions right now, but Raymond Medina wants to, he gave us a shout out, Mike, and I'll read it. It says, Russ Reyes and Mike Owen are awesome, essential guys. I never thought of myself as essential, but I'll take it, Ray. Thank you. Mike's essential. He's making the juice.
It's my man, Russ. He's got potential. You be knowing that he's essential. Yo, yo, yo.
Wow. I feel like I've been awarded something, man. I have potential. That's cool.
Potential.
And he also just renamed you the storage unit. Your new name is the storage unit since you kind of showed us where you go with that wine. So, Mike, just, things have been, not only has the time's been crazy. I mean, we're all in lockdown and all that kind of stuff, but we went from sun to snow to rain, and now we're back to some kind of sunny, cloudy, how's that affecting your vines out there?
Well, the things are actually in pretty decent shape right now. February, I'm going to call that la la land, because it was like July or June. It was like super nice. Everybody's running around in shorts and stuff.
Yeah, they were.
And then March hit, and okay, there's some March.
Okay, and then you can blame me for snow on March 15th because it's my birthday, and that's what I asked for.
She asked for snow?
I asked for snow on my birthday, and I got snow on my birthday.
Okay.
Well, at least now we know that.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Well,
you can blame me. It's okay.
All right, KZ.
the other thing is, she didn't tell us not to wash our cars, so we're actually need to be a little bit angry at her. But I'll work.
True.
Work with it. So, and then the whole aspect of our lives changing so significantly during March. I mean, I think we were aware of the first half and confined the second, and then everyone seems to have found some sort of new normal. I don't know if everybody likes it, but I think everyone is following some, of my rant about, can you be nice to people, or can you try?
Mhm.
And Melissa wants me to keep trying.
You're doing all right tonight. You did tonight. You did well tonight, Mike.
I have my moments.
Yeah.
And then, pick up some litter, because it doesn't cost anything, and you come out of this with something better. But I think also Debbie McCarthy and I, Debbie About Town Deb and I, had a long discussion last night about when all this is over, what are people's takeaways? And I think that people are going to have really interesting takeaways. Is that what did happen instead of what didn't happen, and who was assumed or was otherwise thrust into leadership positions. And Russ, I'm gonna tap you and pat you on the back for that, because leading the charge on this, you're taking people into unfamiliar territory, and no one knows if you're really going to sell any wine or any of that stuff, but it's connecting people, and I think that's a leadership position. Thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I don't look at myself as a leader. I think I just like to have fun with people, but thank you, Mike. I appreciate that.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
We'll find any number of people who are interested in doing some more of this.
Yeah.
The next thing we're talking about doing, and Russ and I are going to pick a date. Please, give some thumbs up or let us know if you think this is interesting.
Absolutely.
There's been a lot of questions over time about how we blend wine. How do you come up with triumphant, and where does that come from, and,
Mhm.
and where do you start and where do you end up? Really great questions. I wanted to see if the next time we could do this, we could do kind of a live blending exercise, so you guys could watch in on how we are going to make a triumphant on like our second try at it. We went through it once, and we kind of were okay, but we don't think we're done with that yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think in a week or so, on the 20th, I think is the date that Russ has open. Then we could look at doing a live blending trial of those. It's not something you're going to be able to really participate in, because you need 5 wines and beakers and stuff. But if you wanted to see the process and you were bored stiff and thought maybe you're going to kill the person you were confined with, then this would be a good outlet.
And Mike will be wearing his tidy whities. I
I
thought we
will.
talked about that.
Well, I did. Well, the thing is, I'll end up using them as a mask, because look, this really big busted girl showed up here today, and she loaned this to me. So remember the
Shout out to Colleen's Auntie.
Colleen's auntie
Wow.
made this for us.
Is that
And,
made out of a bra?
I hope so. I hope it isn't made out of those underpants you're freaking talking about. Hey, yeah. And so remember,
Wow.
this area was who's ever heard of the guy? Oh, that looks cool. Who's ever heard of the guy called Black Bart? He was a famous
Bart.
stagecoach robber during the gold rush, and his spot to do his gig was up in Pollard Pines, called Bullion Bend. And
No
there was a
kidding.
little snag in the road, and he'd jump out, give me all your stuff, right? And shotguns the whole thing, so he'd throw down the strong box. And you can imagine Wells Fargo didn't like that then any as much as they would now.
Right.
So what I'm gonna, my next internet persona, or my quarantine next rapper name is gonna be Green Bart with that mask. So just look out is all I'm trying to tell you.
That's too funny. You're always there's always some mischief with you, Mike. I think that's why people love you.
Mischief.
Well, we still have time if anyone's out there has any questions. We don't want to cut anybody off here at an hour. We've been here talking to you guys for an hour. We've really enjoyed it. Thank you, Beverly and Babcock, for the comments. That's wonderful. I really appreciate that. It was nice meeting you too. And some people, Mike, are saying, hey, they could do the 5 wines. Give them the option, man. Let them buy the 5 wines and mix with you.
That's it would be interesting, and I can even imagine who's on that list. Actually,
I mean, you figure once they blend them all, they'll just put them all back in the bottle, and
just make it shake and bake your own triumphant, right? Here's
that's
triumphant,
right.
You're done.
That's right. There you go. Give them the basic. Give them the basic components to your triumphant, and they'll see what they can do with it.
Yeah, because we absolutely could do that. We need to take orders a little bit earlier than right before. But
yeah,
I really think we used to have some really fun events where we did wine and food pairings and triumphant blending, and we would get really interesting feedback from the customer base, and we always told people we had the right to ignore it. And
sure,
it worked out that way.
So before we wrap up here, if anyone else has any more questions, please feel free to throw them at Mike, whether you're on Facebook or whether you're here on Zoom with us. And we do have another question here. Debbie asks, what's a good wine for ham with your Easter dinner?
I think the Syrah would do nicely with ham. Depends on if you're doing honey glaze, right? Because the sugar is going to make a difference in what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't go with Sangiovese because of the tartness or the acidity in that isn't necessarily.
I'm going to go with some though.
Victory would be a good pairing with ham. And out of these 3, I'd probably go after the Syrah. My favorite pairing with Syrah, some friends of ours from Truckee put up the other night, is Syrah and lamb. And Syrah being from the center of France, where there's a lot of sheep herding and sheep raising going on, they eat a lot of lamb, and
right.
It's a natural pairing. Nope, Mama says good. I don't like lamb. Mama says I don't like lamb. Ain't gonna have no lamb.
No, I don't like
Hey, Melissa.
Mama ain't gonna have no lamb. She just wants to eat the ham.
So all you 2-ply fans out there, you've had
Mama,
no less than
she
3.
Don't eat much duck. Mama, she gonna be out of luck.
Thank you for going there and not going somewhere else.
Yeah, you didn't know what I was going to rhyme there, did you?
I didn't.
You were right on the edge, dude.
When you think of all the words that rhyme with duck, luck is probably the 3rd one you're thinking about. So thank you. Although this isn't a family show, but thank you.
All right. Well, I'm trying to get invited back.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. No, you're definitely invited back, dude. This has been a lot of fun. So it looks like we've got, I think, a lot of happy people out there, a lot of good comments. Guys, thank you so much for sharing the love with us and sharing your comments. Mike, they've really enjoyed the show. They've had some fun times.
We miss you guys. We really, really, really miss you guys.
We miss you guys.
I mean, we would like hospitality more than packing boxes. Trust us.
And I definitely personally want to thank all of our wine club members. I tell you,
we love you guys so much.
You've just been a godsend, and thank you so much.
Bless you all. Stay healthy.
Definitely.
Do the right thing. Be good to your neighbors. And
no COVID.
Yeah, we're gonna have a COVID case, but not a case of COVID.
That's right. Definitely. So please call up Mike and Melissa and KZ, order some wines if you have a chance. $200. They've got a great case special. Make sure if you don't follow them on Facebook and Instagram, you get on there and follow them so you can keep track of all the activities and fun stuff that they're doing. My name is Russ Reyes, and of course, Kilt&Cork. If you're not following me, it's at Kilt&Cork on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. We have our YouTube channel. So this will be on YouTube tomorrow, Mike. So people can share it and revisit and watch this over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, can you edit it?
No. Oh, no. We're going to unedit. It's unedited, unfiltered.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much.
Stay fly.
Thank you, everybody. Stay healthy and stay safe out there. Thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks, right, Mike? A couple of weeks, we'll be back here.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Cheers. Thank you for joining us tonight. Stay safe. We love you.
Stay healthy, everybody.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.